The galaxy had always seen Earth as a small blue world, a tiny planet spinning around a yellow star. To the great empires, Earth was nothing. Its people were weak, its armies small, its technology old. At least, that was what the galaxy believed. For centuries, the alien races looked down on humans. They saw them laugh, cry, fight, and dream. But to the cold logic of the galaxy, dreams meant nothing. Strength was counted in ships, in weapons, in the number of worlds under control. And Earth had none of these. The Council of Worlds often joked about the humans. They said humans were fragile, easy to break. They said humans were children playing at space travel. Some even called them pets of the galaxy. And the humans heard all of it. But humans were patient. They listened, they watched, and they waited. They grew in silence, hidden behind the shadows of greater powers. While the galaxy laughed, humans built. While others ignored them, humans prepared. It started with small steps. A station here, a moon base there, a colony on Mars, a mining ship in the belt. Slowly, piece by piece, humanity stretched its fingers into the stars. No one cared because no one feared them. But humans never forgot how others treated them. Every insult was remembered. Every humiliation became fuel. Every loss turned into strength. The galaxy thought humans were weak, but weakness is what taught them to endure. Then came the first contact. A fleet of alien scouts arrived in Earth's orbit. They came with banners of superiority, not peace. Their words were sharp, filled with arrogance. Bow before the council, or be crushed, they said. The world watched as the aliens demanded surrender. The humans did not bow. They stood silent, their leaders calm. The aliens grew impatient, mistaking silence for fear. But the humans were not afraid. They were calculating. One scout ship landed in New York. Crowds gathered. Cameras broadcast across the planet. The alien commander stepped forward, tall and armored. He looked at the humans with cold eyes. To him, this was the day Earth bent its knee. But then he saw something strange. The humans did not tremble. Their eyes held no fear, only fire. Children stared at him with defiance. Soldiers stood like stone, ready for anything. The commander laughed. "Fragile creatures, you think you can resist?" he said. He lifted his weapon to show his power. But the humans did not move. Instead, one of them stepped forward, a soldier in simple uniform. The soldier said nothing at first. He simply stared into the alien's eyes. And then he spoke, slowly, clearly. "We are not weak," he said. The crowd erupted in cheers. The alien commander felt a chill. He had seen countless races bow, but never had he seen such courage from a species so small. This was not fear, this was defiance. And in that moment, he understood danger. But arrogance blinded him. He struck down the soldier, thinking it would break the crowd. Instead, the people roared louder. The soldier's blood became a symbol, and the aliens had made their first mistake. News spread across Earth. Every human saw what had happened. Every city, every nation, every home. And something changed inside them. The galaxy thought humans would kneel, but humans were rising. That night, leaders gathered in secret. Generals whispered of plans long hidden. Scientists revealed projects never spoken of. Ships hidden in shadows, weapons built in silence. Earth had been preparing for this day. The galaxy thought humans were weak because they saw only the surface. They saw laughter, but not the pain behind it. They saw small ships, but not the giant fleets under construction. They saw fragile bodies, but not unbreakable spirits. And now, the mask of weakness was falling. The soldier who died became a symbol. Songs were sung, flags were raised. Children learned his name in schools. And whispers spread. Earth would never forget. Earth would never forgive. From that day, the galaxy was no longer safe. Because the humans had found a reason. And when humans find a reason, they do not stop. They do not bow. They do not break. They rise and they fight. The aliens had wanted obedience. Instead, they had planted rebellion. They had come to demand surrender. Instead, they had awakened a storm. a storm that would spread across the stars. The galaxy had mocked humans, but soon they would learn the truth. Humans were not weak. They were the most dangerous species of all, and war was coming. The day after the soldier fell, Earth was silent. But it was not the silence of fear, it was the silence before a storm. In every corner of the planet, people spoke in whispers. In every home, children asked their parents why the aliens had killed a man who only stood tall. And in every heart, anger burned. The aliens thought the humans would break. They believed the death of one man would crush the spirit of billions. Instead, it became fire. The soldier's picture appeared on walls, on banners, on screens across the globe. His eyes staring, his final words echoing. "We are not weak." Leaders of Earth gathered in secret chambers. The United Council of Nations sat together for the first time in history without division. Old enemies sat side by side, their differences forgotten. It was not about borders now, it was about survival. And survival had always been humanity's greatest strength. In the skies above, the alien scouts sent reports to their masters. They described humans as stubborn, but harmless. They said Earth had no weapons strong enough to resist. But they did not see the underground vaults. They did not see the hidden factories, and they did not see the fire in human eyes. On Mars, miners abandoned their drills and took up rifles. On Luna, engineers reprogrammed cargo ships into war machines. In the asteroid belt, smugglers revealed secret fleets. Everywhere, humanity was preparing, and the galaxy had no idea. The first act of rebellion came quietly. A small human strike team boarded an alien supply ship. They used stolen codes, hidden under layers of clever trickery. The aliens never expected such boldness from fragile creatures. But by the time the alarms rang, the ship was already gone, and the humans had their first victory. The stolen ship was not just a prize. It was knowledge. Inside its databanks were maps of alien patrol routes, weaknesses in their networks. The kind of information wars were won with. And for the first time, Earth had a weapon that was not made of steel, but of secrets. Whispers of rebellion spread to other worlds. Alien species enslaved by the council heard of the humans. They heard that the weak species had struck back. They heard of the soldier who stood tall, and hope began to grow where there had been none. But the aliens were not blind. They saw the sparks of fire and tried to crush them. More ships arrived. More demands for surrender echoed. They thought more violence would silence humanity. But violence only sharpened their will. In New York, protests filled the streets. In London, factories ran day and night. In Beijing, scientists worked on weapons older empires had forbidden. And in the deserts of Africa, hidden launch sites came alive. Humanity was moving as one. A billion voices, one purpose, one defiance. Then came the second strike. This time, humans attacked, not in secret, but in the open. A fleet of retrofitted cargo ships stormed an alien outpost on the edge of the solar system. The battle was short, brutal, and shocking. The aliens laughed at the rusty human ships. But laughter turned to silence when the outpost burned. Across the galaxy, rulers scoffed. How can primitives win a war? They asked. But deep in their hearts, unease began to grow. For the humans had shown something no numbers could measure. Something that frightened even the oldest empires. They had shown they would fight to the last breath. The Council of Worlds met in their shining halls. Voices rose in anger, some calling for total annihilation of Earth, others warning that such destruction would only make martyrs. But no one could agree, because none of them truly understood humans. Back on Earth, people gathered at the grave of the fallen soldier. His name carved in stone, flowers laid by strangers who felt like family. Children held candles, veterans saluted, and in the quiet night, they swore an oath. Never again shall we bow. The spark had become a flame, and that flame would soon become a fire. The aliens thought humans were weak, but weakness had taught them strength. And now, rebellion was no longer a dream. It was reality. The galaxy was watching. And in the shadows of the stars, war was already on its way. The second strike had shaken the galaxy. An outpost destroyed, alien soldiers defeated, and humans standing victorious. It was something the empires had never seen before. For them, rebellion was always crushed before it began. But this time, the rebels were not broken. They were only getting stronger. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Children in schools spoke proudly of the victory. Workers in factories built faster, stronger, harder. Soldiers trained with fire in their eyes. And leaders spoke of unity like never before. The aliens called it luck. They said humans had stumbled into victory. They said it was only a matter of time before Earth burned. But deep down they were afraid. Because luck does not explain defiance. Luck does not explain courage. And luck does not explain the speed at which humans were rising. In secret, the governments of Earth revealed their greatest hidden project. It was called Project Iron Sky. For decades, while the galaxy mocked them, humans had been preparing. Beneath mountains, under oceans, in deserts and frozen wastelands, factories had worked in silence. They built ships not for trade, but for war. They built weapons not for peace, but for survival. Now the veil was lifted. From hidden hangars, Titanic warships rose into the sky. From underground silos, missiles rolled onto launch pads. From secret vaults, railguns and plasma cannons were revealed. The world watched as their true strength came to light. The people cheered. The weak no longer felt weak. The fragile no longer felt fragile. For the first time, they saw that humanity had claws. Claws sharp enough to tear through steel and bone. The aliens who spied on Earth sent desperate reports. They wrote of weapons that should not exist. They spoke of fleets larger than they believed possible. And they whispered of human engineers who turned scrap into fire. Still, the Council of Worlds dismissed it. Humans cannot threaten us, they said. They are only children with toys, they said. But the soldiers who had faced humans knew better. They remembered the fire in human eyes. They remembered the stubborn will that did not bend. And they warned their leaders. Do not underestimate them, they said. But arrogance is a dangerous blindfold. Meanwhile, Earth tested its weapons in silence. Ships flew beyond the solar system, cloaked in shadows. Drones mapped alien space, searching for weaknesses. Every victory was hidden. Every move kept secret, until the time came to strike again. The spark of rebellion had become a storm. Allies began to appear in the darkness. Small alien races, once slaves, now whispered to the humans. They sent signals, offered safe harbors, shared secrets. For they saw what others refused to see. Humans were hope. On the battlefield, humans showed a strange power. When a soldier fell, another rose. When a ship was destroyed, 10 more were built. When defeat seemed certain, they found a way to turn it into victory. This was something the galaxy did not understand, because humans did not measure strength in numbers. They measured strength in spirit. The third strike came with thunder. A human fleet, newly revealed, attacked a major alien convoy. The battle lit up the stars. Lasers, missiles, plasma, and steel filled the void. The aliens expected to crush the humans. But instead, they watched in horror as their ships burned. The convoy was lost. Supplies destroyed, soldiers captured, pride shattered. And the humans left a message behind. A single transmission broadcast to every listening ear. We are not weak, they said again. We are not afraid. The galaxy trembled. The council met once more, furious and divided. Some demanded Earth's destruction. Others warned it was already too late. But no one could deny it anymore. Humans were not the weak ones. They were the storm on the horizon. Back on Earth, the people gathered once more. They sang songs of the fallen. They raised banners of defiance. And in every heart, there was only one thought. The war had begun, and humanity was ready to fight it. The galaxy had laughed at humans for centuries. They had called them fragile, unworthy, weak. But now, the laughter was gone. replaced by fear. The third strike had shattered the illusion. Humans were no longer a small voice in the void. They were a storm that could not be silenced. In the shining halls of the council, voices rose in panic. Some demanded the full destruction of Earth. Others spoke of negotiation, but their words were drowned. Pride blinded the empires. Pride chained them to arrogance. They believed overwhelming power would crush humanity. And so, fleets were summoned, the largest in living memory. Armadas of alien ships gathered near the rim of human space. Thousands of warships, carriers, dreadnoughts, and cruisers. Their weapons glowed, their banners stretched across the stars. They came not for peace, but for conquest. They came to end humanity once and for all. On Earth, there was no fear. There was only preparation. Factories thundered night and day. Children carried supplies. Women and men trained side by side. The weak species had become one army, an army that carried the spirit of survival. The skies above the planet shimmered with new machines. Orbital defense platforms aimed their cannons. Massive carriers launched swarms of fighters. Missiles rested in silos like sleeping beasts waiting to awaken. Every mountain, every desert, every ocean hid weapons of war. And humanity was ready. When the alien fleets crossed the border of the solar system, they expected terror. They expected surrender. But instead, they found silence. The humans did not plead. They did not bow. They only whispered to themselves, "This is our home, and no one takes it from us." The first clash came near the icy plains of Neptune. A swarm of alien cruisers charged forward. They fired beams of light strong enough to shatter moons. But human ships danced between the fire. Small, fast, clever. They struck back with railguns and missiles that ripped through shields. And for the first time, the alien fleets staggered. The galaxy had always believed wars were won with size. But humans showed another truth. Wars could be won with speed, with cunning, with fire in the heart. Every battle became a lesson. Every loss became fuel. And every victory became a legend. Back on Earth, the people watched the skies. They saw fire streak across the heavens. They saw battles fought above their heads. And they did not cry. They shouted, they cheered, they believed. Because for the first time in history, the world was won. The alien admirals grew restless. They had lost ships where they should have won. They had seen courage where they expected fear. And now, whispers of doubt spread through their ranks. They began to wonder if the council had made a mistake. They began to wonder if the humans were something far more dangerous than they had imagined. The second great clash came near Mars. The red planet became a battlefield of fire and steel. Alien dreadnought reine destruction. But humans fought from the ground and the sky. Tunnels under Mars erupted with hidden launchers. Weapons struck from every direction. The aliens burned cities, but they could not break the spirit. The humans fought with teeth, with claws, with rage. And Mars became a graveyard of alien steel. The galaxy watched in shock. Never before had a species resisted the council this way. Never before had weak creatures stood against entire fleets. And never before had the mighty lost so much to the so-called fragile. On Earth, leaders sent a single message. It was broadcast across every frequency. It carried through the stars. It reached even the ears of those who still doubted. "We do not seek war, but we will not kneel," they said. "Come with your fleets, come with your fire, come with your pride, and you will see what it means to face humanity." The war had ignited, and in every star, in every corner of the galaxy, one truth began to spread. Humans were no longer weak. They were no longer ignored. They were no longer underestimated. They were the fire that could not be put out, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war had spread across the solar system. Neptune had burned, Mars had become a graveyard, and Earth had become a fortress. Still, the alien fleets pressed on. They believed numbers would crush humanity. They believed firepower would silence them. But with every battle, the truth became clearer. The humans were not breaking, They were growing stronger. In the cold void near Jupiter, the largest clash yet unfolded. Alien dreadnoughts moved in formation, their hulls shining like black mountains. Thousands of fighters swarmed ahead, carrying plasma fire. It was a sight meant to terrify. But the humans did not flinch. They launched their own ships, smaller but faster. They moved like hunters, weaving through the storm of fire. And every strike they landed left the enemy bleeding. The aliens could not understand it. By every measure, humans should have been crushed. Their fleets were smaller, their worlds fewer, their weapons less advanced. But numbers and power meant nothing against a mind that refused to yield. For every ship destroyed, 2 more rose. For every soldier fallen, 10 more took their place. It was as if the humans had endless resolve. And in truth, that was exactly what they had. In the war councils of the galaxy, arguments grew louder. Some demanded the humans be wiped out with planet killers. Others warned that such an act would unite not just humans, but every enslaved species. Still, the council could not agree. Fear had entered their hearts, and fear breeds division. Back on Earth, the people did not sleep. Factories burned with fire, building machines faster than ever. Engineers turned civilian ships into warships. Farmers built rifles from scrap. Every hand, every mind, every heart was part of the war. And still, their spirit did not break. The turning point came not from Earth, but from the shadows. Whispers had spread across the stars of the human defiance. And those whispers had reached the ears of the broken and the enslaved. On distant worlds under alien rule, slaves rose against their masters. On hidden colonies, rebels raised banners of freedom. And when asked why they fought, their answer was simple. If humans can stand, so can we. The galaxy had thought humans were alone, but now their fire was spreading. The council sent more fleets to silence the uprisings. But the more they fought, the more the fire spread. It was as if humanity had lit a spark in the darkest corners of the stars, a spark that no fleet could extinguish. On the battlefield near Jupiter, the alien armada finally faltered. Their formations broke, their commanders hesitated, and humanity struck with fury. Missiles screamed through the void, railguns tore through shields. Alien dreadnoughts cracked open like eggs, and human soldiers boarded ships, fighting hand to hand. They did not fight for glory, they fought for survival. And survival gave them strength beyond measure. The galaxy watched in silence as reports spread. The Council's great armada, the fleet meant to crush humanity, was broken. Not destroyed, but shattered enough to retreat. And for the first time, the galaxy saw the impossible. A so-called weak species had turned the tide of war. In the aftermath, celebrations shook the earth. Children cheered, soldiers wept, and leaders spoke with pride. But beneath the joy, there was still fire. The humans knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. For the Council would not accept defeat. They would return, with greater numbers, with greater fury. But humans no longer feared them. They had faced the worst and endured. They had stood against the storm and survived. And survival had turned into victory. The fallen soldiers' words still echoed in their hearts. We are not weak. And now, the galaxy believed it. Every empire, every ruler, every soldier had seen the truth. The humans had been underestimated, mocked, ignored. But now they stood among the great powers. Not as servants, not as prey, but as equals. And soon as leaders, the tide had turned, and the galaxy trembled at what would come next. The Council had believed the war would end at Jupiter. They thought their great fleets would crush humanity. But instead, they had been forced to retreat. And the retreat was the beginning of something no one expected. For humans did not wait for the enemy to return. They decided to strike first. Across Earth, leaders met in secret chambers. The victory at Jupiter was celebrated, but plans were already moving forward. The time for defense was ending. The time for offense had come. For humanity had learned a truth carved in blood. If they waited, they would die. But if they struck, they could win. The first human fleets moved beyond the solar system. Ships built from steel, scrap, and firepower. Their crews were young, determined, unafraid. Many of them had never seen the stars before the war. But now they flew into darkness with steady hands, carrying the will of billions. Their target was an alien supply line, a chain of stations that fed the Council's armadas. Without them, fleets would starve, ships would wither, and soldiers would falter. The humans knew the risk, but risk had always been their ally. It was risk that had carried them from caves to cities. It was risk that had carried them from Earth to the stars. The first strike came at the edge of Council space, an alien refueling station, massive and guarded. The humans attacked not with numbers, but with cunning. They shut down sensors, they jammed communications, and then they struck like wolves in the night. By the time the alarm sounded, the station was already falling, its flames lighting up the void. The Council reeled in disbelief. How could humans, with their small fleets, strike so deep? How could they bypass defenses built over centuries? The answer was simple. Humans did not fight like empires. They fought like survivors. They struck where it hurt most, then vanished. And every strike grew bolder. Whispers spread faster than fleets could travel. Humans are moving, the galaxy said. They're not waiting, they are coming. And fear spread with those words. For no one had expected humanity to push outward so soon. Meanwhile, alliances began to shift. Small races, once ignored, now reached out to the humans. Smugglers, rebels, slaves, and traitors. They offered safe harbors, intelligence, supplies, not because they loved humans, but because they believed humans could win. And hope is stronger than fear. On Earth, people watched the stars and prayed. Every ship that left carried brothers, sisters, children, parents. But the people did not break. They understood the cost. They knew victory demanded sacrifice. And still, they sent their sons and daughters forward, because surrender was worse than death. The Council responded with fury. They unleashed fleets larger than ever before. They swore humanity would burn, but humanity had already learned their secret. Big fleets moved slowly. Big fleets were easy to see, and humans thrived in shadows. At the Battle of Halo's Reach, humans proved this truth. A small fleet of 20 ships ambushed a convoy guarded by 100. By every measure, the humans should have lost. But they moved with precision, with unity, with fire. They struck at the heart, cutting fuel lines, targeting command ships. And when the battle ended, the humans were still standing. The aliens were not. The galaxy trembled at the news. If humans could win at Halo's Reach, then no system was safe. The Council's pride was cracking. Their fleets were strong, but their spirit was weakening, because they had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that turned every loss into strength. An enemy that refused to kneel. On Earth, the leaders sent another message. This time, it was not just for the Council. It was for the entire galaxy. We did not ask for this war, they said, but we will finish it. Stand with us, and you will be free. Stand against us, and you will fall. And in the darkness of space, more voices began to answer. The spark of rebellion was now a firestorm. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were advancing, and the galaxy had no idea how far they would go. The war had spread far beyond the solar system. The humans had struck deep into enemy space. Convoys burned, stations fell, fleets scattered. What began as survival was now something greater. It was no longer about Earth alone. It was about the entire galaxy. On worlds long forgotten by the Council, slaves rose. They carried rusted weapons, inspired by whispers of human victories. On distant colonies, banners of rebellion were raised. Everywhere the story was the same. If humans can fight, so can we. And soon, the galaxy was burning with uprisings. The Council tried to hold their power. They sent more fleets, they ordered more strikes. But each fleet returned weaker. Each strike ended with more losses. and each defeat carved cracks into their empire. The rulers who once mocked humanity now feared them, for humanity had shown a truth no empire wanted to believe. Strength was not only in numbers. Strength was in spirit, in unity, in the will to never surrender. And no empire could destroy that. In the skies above the world of Xylar Prime, the final battle came. It was the seat of council power, a jewel of alien arrogance. The humans did not attack with overwhelming numbers. They attacked with precision, with fury, with heart. Their fleets broke through defenses thought unbreakable. Their soldiers stormed fortresses carved of steel. And with every step forward, the galaxy held its breath. The council fought with desperation. They unleashed weapons meant to shatter planets. But humanity stood firm. Shields burned, ships fell, soldiers died. Yet still they advanced, for they carried not only the will of Earth, but the will of every enslaved voice that had prayed for freedom. At the height of the battle, the humans broadcast one last message. It echoed across every world, every station, every ship. It carried through the stars like fire through dry grass. "We are not weak," they said. "We never were. You brought us war, but we brought you truth. And the truth is this: humanity does not bow." The word spread faster than any fleet. On alien worlds, chains were broken. On slave ships, revolts began. And even within the council itself, soldiers laid down their arms. For they had seen the truth in human eyes. They could not fight it. They could not deny it. The council fell, not only to weapons, but to fear, not only to battles, but to the fire of defiance. Their flags burned, their leaders fled, their empire shattered. And at the center of the storm stood humanity, scarred, bloodied, but unbroken. When the war was finally over, Earth stood before the galaxy, not as prey, not as servants, not as weak, but as leaders of a new era, an era where no voice would be silenced, an era where no species would be forgotten. For humanity had shown the path, and that path was carved with sacrifice. In the streets of Earth, people wept and cheered. Children carried the names of the fallen. Songs of victory filled the night sky. But in every song, there's also a warning to the galaxy. Never again shall you call us weak. For the humans had risen from dust to stars. They had faced empires older than their history. They had fought with everything, and they had won. The galaxy would never forget the lesson. That weakness was only an illusion, and the most underestimated species had become the most feared. From that day, one truth echoed across the stars. Humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. Humans were the fire that would never die, and the galaxy would remember it forever.